Brothers and sisters of Africa, compatriots of Burkina Faso, defenders of liberty and sovereignty. Today I stand before you not as a politician, not even simply as a soldier, but as a son of the African soil. I speak as a representative of millions of men and women who have carried pain in silence, who have lived under the yoke of dependency, and who are now rising in unison to say enough is enough. For decades, our continent has known suffering. We were colonized, robbed, humiliated, and told that our liberation had arrived when foreign flags came down and ours were hoisted. But those were symbolic changes. True independence, the kind that gives you the power to determine your destiny, was never granted. It must be seized, it must be forged, and that is why we are here today. Not to mourn the past, but to ignite a new era, to take the first bold step toward military independence, with a creation that belongs to us, made for us. This is not merely a weapon. It is a symbol of our determination. It is a testament to what Africans can build when they are no longer afraid, no longer begging, no longer silent. The LXS&this is our answer to decades of subservience. It is our voice rising from the shadows, proclaiming to the world that we will no longer rely on foreign powers to defend our land, our people, or our dignity. For too long, African nations have been trapped in a cycle of dependence. Our militaries, formed during colonial rule, were designed not to protect our people, but to serve foreign interests. We inherited systems that made us consumers of second-hand weapons and donors' mercy. When we faced terrorists, our leaders had to wait for approval, wait for supplies, wait for external forces to act. And even then, help came with strings, if it came at all. What kind of sovereignty is this? What kind of independence forced a nation to ask its former colonizers for permission to defend itself? That is not freedom. That is slavery in disguise. And today we tear off that disguise and confront the truth. Africa has never been truly independent because we have never controlled the tools to defend our independence. Today, we turn the page. The LXS&this, developed and deployed on African soil, is not just a firearm. It is a declaration of intent, a tool of resistance, a step into a future where African defense is no longer outsourced. This weapon was conceived not in European laboratories, but in the minds of African engineers and patriots. It was born from necessity, from urgency, from the sacred duty to protect our homeland with our own hands. Let me be clear. This weapon is not meant for conquest. It is not built to threaten neighbors or provoke conflicts. It is not the product of warmongering. It is the product of survival, of a people who have had enough of being victims, enough of being pawns in foreign wars, enough of being told when and how they can defend themselves. We are not asking for war. We are asking for dignity. And dignity begins with the ability to protect one's children, one's borders, one's resources. No nation is truly independent unless it has the capacity to defend its independence. We are not naive. We know that our decision to produce our own weapons, to forge our own path, to cut ties with exploitative powers, will provoke anger. Already voices in foreign capitals are expressing concern not because they care for our people, but because they fear losing control over our destiny. They fear an Africa that can no longer be manipulated. They fear an Africa that says no. Let them fear. Because fear is the reaction of oppressors when the oppressed rise. The LXS&this is just the beginning. It is the seed. And from this seed, a forest will grow. We will no longer wait for others to arm us. We will arm ourselves with technology, with innovation, with discipline, and with pride. We will no longer be dependent on foreign doctrines that do not reflect our reality. We will no longer accept foreign troops on our soil, pretending to fight terrorism while fueling instability. We are building an African defense philosophy, one rooted in our cultures, our environment, our strategic vision, one that protects the people, not the elite, one that respects sovereignty, not profits. To the youth of Africa, I speak direct to you. You are the vanguard of this revolution, the engineers who will build the next generation of weapons, the cybersecurity experts who will defend our data, the scientists who will power our drones, satellites, and communications. You must rise. You must believe that you have within you the genius to make Africa safe by African hands. Gone are the days when our brightest minds fled to foreign countries to serve under foreign flags. Today we call upon you to return or stay and serve your motherland. Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Because the African dream will not be built by foreign contractors. It will be built by you with your brain, your skills, your commitment, and your courage. We must stop thinking that development is only measured in roads and skyscrapers. True development begins with security. Without security, there is no economy. Without security, there is no education. Without security, there is no future. And we cannot outsource our security and still expect to be free. The elixir on this is modest. It does not yet rival the high-tech weaponry of global superpowers. But it is ours. And because it is ours, we can improve it, replicate it, and build upon it. We are learning, we are growing, and soon we will not only match global standards, we will define new ones. We are calling on all African nations to do the same. Let each country become a pillar of collective defense. Let us unite our capabilities, pool our research, and share our innovations. If one country builds rifles, another builds vehicles, another develops drones, and another provides logistics, then no African nation will ever have to depend on foreign armies again. Let us stop competing with each other and start complementing each other. Let us build a continental defense ecosystem that empowers African solutions for African problems. Imagine a future where no terrorist can threaten a village in Niger. No mercenary can destabilize a region in Mali. No foreign power can impose a government in Guinea, because the African people are united, armed, and determined to protect themselves. Imagine a future where every African soldier carries a weapon made by Africans, trained and doctrine designed by Africans, and led by values rooted in African dignity. This is not a dream. This is a plan. And the success on this is our first step. You know, the road ahead is long. There will be sabotage. There will be betrayals. There will be threats. But nothing worth fighting for has ever been easy. Our ancestors resisted colonialism with bare hands. They gave us the chance to stand here today. We will not betray their sacrifice by remaining silent in the face of neo-colonialism. They built with blood. We must now build with wisdom. We must use every resource, our gold, our oil, our uranium, not to enrich a corrupt few or line the pockets of foreign companies, but to invest in our own defense, in our own industries, in our own future. There will be critique, inside and outside. Some will say, Africa is militarizing. Some will accuse us of nationalism, of extremism, of provoking instability. But they forget We have lived in instability for decades, and it was not because we armed ourselves. It was because we depended on others to protect us. True peace is not the absence of war. It is the presence of strength. And we are now building that strength to the enemies of African liberation. Understand this, your time is over. You can no longer divide us with lies. You can no longer control us with hate. You can no longer silence us with fear. We are no longer afraid. We are no longer ashamed. We are no longer alone. We are united. We are committed. And we are rising. The Alex Assanbis will not remain a prototype. It will become a standard. It will evolve. It will multiply. It will be remembered in history as the spark that lit the fire of African military sovereignty. This is our mission. This is our burden. But it is also our glory. And to the people of Burkina Faso, thank you. You have stood firm in this transition. You have sacrificed. You have endured sanctions, propaganda, and pressure, but you never bent. You never broke. You understood that freedom is not given, it is taken. And together, we are taking it. Tuaregs in Africa, Mali, Niger, Guinea, and beyond, we salute you. Together, we are forming not just alliances of states, but a community of destiny. We are not building empires, we are building unity. And unity backed by strength is unstoppable. Africa will not be dictator. Africa will no longer be looted. Africa will no longer be occupied. Africa will rise. We are done waiting. We are done asking. We are done apologizing. With the Alex Assanbis, we begin a new chapter, one of resistance, one of creation, one of liberation. Long live the people. Long live the African soldier. Long live Pan-African unity. Long live the Alex Assanbis. And long live the fight for total and irreversible sovereignty. Victorious, certain, Africa will be free. He speaks not only to Burkina Faso, but to the heart of Africa. I speak to every young man and woman who has wondered why our lands remain vulnerable, our borders insecure, and our people at the mercy of forces we do not control. I speak because there is a truth that must be spoken loudly, clearly, and without apology. No nation is truly sovereign until it can defend itself with its own hands. For decades, we were taught that independence meant raising a flag and singing an anthem. But what good is a flag if it flies over land that is still occupied, still surveyed, still manipulated by foreign interests? What good is an anthem if our security depends on weapons we do not produce, on army we do not command, and on alliances that serve others more than they serve us? Military independence is not an option. It is not a luxury. It is a necessity. When we rely on others to protect us, we do not own our freedom. We rent it. And rent freedom is always temporary. When the interests of our so-called allies shift, when the geopolitical winds change, we are left exposed, disarmed, and alone. This is not theory. This is our lived experience. In the Sahel, our people face terrorism every day. Our villages are attacked, our soldiers are ambushed. And yet, how many times have our governments been forced to wait? Wait for weapons, wait for ammunition, wait for intelligence, wait for approval. This is not sovereignty. This is submission disguised as diplomacy. We say enough. We must build our own capacity. We must train our own forces. We must arm ourselves. Not because we love war, but because we love peace. Real peace. Not a peace of silence, but a peace of strength. Some will say, Africa is not ready. They say we lack the resources, the knowledge, the industry. But I ask you, how did the great military powers of today begin? They did not wait for permission. They did not beg. They built, and so will we. We have engineers. We have scientists. We have youth full of energy and ideas. What we have lacked is belief in ourselves, in our power, in our right to be masters of our destiny. That belief is being reborn. With weapons like the Elixir and these, we are sending a message to the world. Africa is rising. We are taking our first steps, not just toward military capability, but toward dignity. We do not seek to conquer. We seek to defend. But let it be known, any nation that cannot defend itself will eventually be ruled by someone else. That is the law of history, and we refuse to be ruled again. Let us build our factories. Let us train our young. Let us invest in our own defense, not to isolate ourselves, but to stand as equals in the world. To negotiate from strength, not from fear. Military independence is not about weapons alone. It is about mindset. It is about refusing to be weak when you can be strong. It is about taking responsibility for your own protection, your own survival, your own future. So I call on all Africans, leaders, soldiers, students, and workers, rise. Rise to the challenge. Support temporary industry. Support homegrown defense. Support the right of every African child to grow up free from fear, free from dependency, and free from foreign domination. Only then will we be truly independent. Only then will we be truly sovereign. Africa must defend itself, and will. The Alexis on this is not just a weapon. It is a message. It is a declaration that African ingenuity is alive. It is a signal to the world that our time on the sidelines has come to an end. We are not just participants in global affairs. We are shapers of our own destiny. For too long, the image of Africa has been painted in someone else's colors. They have told us we are consumers, never producers, that we are always late to history, always dependent on someone else's design. The Elixir and this destroys that lie. It is designed, engineered, and produced by African minds, with African purpose, on African soil. This is not about the firepower of a rifle. It is about the fire within a people who refuse to remain under the boot of dependency. The Elixir and this, forged from more than metal. It is forged from the will of a continent that has endured centuries of exploitation and humiliation, and still stands with pride. That pride is our dignity, and that dignity must never again be outsourced. Every nation that calls itself sovereign must control its defense. No people can be truly free if their survival depends on foreign weapons, foreign armies, and foreign interests. If we are forced to beg for arms to defend our children, how can we say we are free if we are told what we can build, what we can buy, and who we can fight? What independence do we really have? The Elixir and this marks a shift in that relationship. It is not only a military tool, it is a psychological weapon against the lie that Africans are not capable. It proves that our engineers can innovate, that our youth can create, that our hands are not just for labor but for leadership. It proves that what we need is not permission, it is unity and belief in ourselves. Let us speak clearly. This weapon was not gifted to us. It was not imposed on us. It was born out of necessity, out of struggle, and out of vision. It did not come from a foreign military deal. It came from the spirit of a people who understand that dignity begins when we stop asking and start building. The road ahead will not be easy. We will face sabotage. We will face mockery. We will be told we are dangerous, ungrateful, and reckless, simply because we choose to stand on our own feet. But no people who wish to be respected can accept change, no matter how polished they appear. The elixir and this is not an end. It is a beginning. It is a seed planted in the soil of African self-reliance. It calls upon our universities, our factories, our farmers, and our leaders to work together. We need weapons, yes, but we also need machines, medicine, clean energy, and food systems. The same spirit that created the elixir and this must carry us forward into every field of development. Let us not be mistaken. Dignity without power is an illusion. And power without responsibility is tyranny. That is why we must pair our innovation with vision, our weapons with wisdom, and our pride with purpose. The elixir and this represents all three. This is a new era, one where Africans do not ask for their value to be recognized, they demonstrate it. One where we refuse to let others define our capabilities. One where our dignity is non-negotiable and our future is built by our own hands. Let the elixir not be a symbol in every village, every classroom, every workshop. We are no longer waiting. We are no longer dependent. We are no longer silent. Africa builds now. Africa leads now. Africa rises now. Our enemies have always known one truth. A united Africa is an unstoppable Africa. This is why they divide us with borders, they drew language they imposed, and alliances they manipulate. But the time has come to remember who we are, not as isolated nations, but as one people with one future. And that future will be defended not in fragments, but in unity. Africa cannot stand if each country fights alone. No nation can resist modern threats in isolation. Whether it is terrorism in the Sahel, terrorism off our coasts, cyber warfare, foreign-backed rebellions, or quiet theft of our resources by multinational powers. We are all under attack, in different forms, but from the same system that wants Africa weak, divided, and dependent. It is time to reject. We must build a continental shield, a network of defense built on Pan-African cooperation, not colonial allegiance. Let the armies of Africa share intelligence, share training, and most importantly, shared purpose. Not for conquest, but for liberation and protection of our people, our resources and our dignity. Defense is not only about guns and uniforms, it is about protecting our land from exploitation, our youth from recruitment by foreign-backed militias, our skies from surveillance, our governments from sabotage, our dreams from being crushed before they even take root. Unity is not just a slogan. It must be a strategy. Imagine an Africa where a threat to one is a threat to all, where no terrorist group can destabilize Mali without feeling the coordinated strength of Burkina Faso, Guinea, Algeria, Chad, and Nigeria combined. Imagine if the next time foreign troops try to intervene under the false banner of peacekeeping, they are met with a united front of African nations saying, "We will handle our own affairs." We must invest and join military academies that teach not foreign doctrine but African defense strategy. We must build research centers where African scientists and engineers collaborate to create weapons, defense systems, drones, and communication tools tailored to our terrain and our realities. No more waiting for expired weapons from former colonizers. No more dependence on charity masked as aid. We will build together, and we will defend together. This cooperation must also include our diasporic brothers and sisters, the African who lives in Brazil, in Haiti, in the United States, in the Caribbean, is still African. They have knowledge, they have resources, and many are ready to return or contribute. Let us open our arms to them, not only culturally but strategically. Let the African diaspora become part of our defense network, our intelligence systems, our innovation hubs. But unity will require sacrifice. It will demand that we abandon the selfish interests of elite politicians who benefit from division. It will require us to rise above the artificial borders and ethnic divisions that were never ours to begin with. It will demand that we no longer see ourselves as Francophone, Anglophone, Lusophone, but simply as African. The enemies of Africa are organized. They coordinate. They plan. They do not care which country they extract from, as long as the continent remains weak. We must be more organized than them, more coordinated, more determined. We are not building an empire. We are defending a home of 1.4 billion Africans, a home rich in gold, oil, uranium, cobalt, diamonds, and mines capable of changing the course of history. Let us begin to meet regularly, not just for diplomacy, but for real security planning. Let our soldiers train together. Let our factories build side by side. Let our leaders speak with one voice. Pan-Africanism must now evolve beyond words and become a defense policy. When we defend together, we will rise together. When we protect each other, we will build trust. And when we build trust, we will be truly free. Let the world watch. Let them fear an Africa that no longer bows, no longer begs, and no longer fights alone. Africa united in defense is Africa unstoppable. In every generation, there comes a moment when the youth must rise, not just to inherit the future, but to shape it. That moment has come. Not tomorrow, not years from now. Our continent is not lacking in resources. We have gold, oil, diamonds, cobalt, and uranium. But our greatest treasure, our most powerful and renewable resource, is our youth. Across Africa, young people fill our streets, our universities, our villages. They are full of energy, creativity, and fire. And yet far too many are unemployed. Far too many are told they have no place in building the nation. Far too many are told to flee to Europe, to America, to anywhere but home. This is a betrayal of potential, and it must end. If Africa is to rise, it will not rise on the backs of foreign aid or imported solutions. It will arise through the hands of young Africans building bridges, writing code, designing machines, constructing drones, managing resources, and defending our sovereignty with intelligence and purpose. We speak of military independence, of technological liberation, of economic sovereignty. But none of this is possible without empowering our engineers, our inventors, our scientists, and our builders. We must stop seeing education as a formality and start seeing it as a weapon of liberation. Every young African trained in engineering, architecture, robotics, medicine, or software development is more powerful than a million speeches. A trained mind can defend the nation better than a borrowed army. And yet, how many of our universities are underfunded? How many of our brightest minds leave the continent and never return? How many of our technical schools produce talent that ends up driving taxis or waiting in endless unemployment lines? This is not just a failure of policy. It is a failure of vision. We must create an environment where African youth and African engineers are not only welcomed, but prioritized. We need research centers, fabrication labs, industrial parks, and defense technology hubs, not owned, by foreign corporations, but led by African minds, funded by African governments, and protected by African resolve. We must stop being ashamed of ambition. Let our young people build rockets. Let them build satellites. Let them build next-generation weapons, communication systems, and manufacturing infrastructure. We are not too poor to dream big. We are only too afraid to invest in ourselves. It is the youth who understand the language of technology. It is they who are fluent in code, in circuits, in innovation. We must clear the path for them, not block it with corruption, nepotism, and outdated thinking. To the youth of Africa, I say this: we need you. Not just your protests, but your plans. Not just your anger, but your architecture. Not just your slogans, but your solutions. You are not too young to lead. You are not too inexperienced to innovate. You are the army behind the army, the architects of the new Africa. To the engineers, your allure is sacred. Do not let your skills be exported. Use them here, where your people need you. Refuse to design for others, while your own continent waits. Refuse to build the dreams of others while your own homeland struggles. Let us build together. Let us create new weapons, new machines, new infrastructure that answers to African needs, not foreign demands. And to our leaders, invest in youth or prepare to be replaced by them. Invest in education, in research, in industry, or step aside. The continent can no longer afford leaders who fear young minds more than they fear foreign domination. Our future is not in the hands of others. It is in the hearts and minds of our youth. Empower them, and Africa will not only rise, it will fly. Let us build that Africa. Let us empower those who will shape it. Let us trust our youth, and the future will trust us in return. We broke the chains once, but the system found new ones. Our colonizers may have lowered their flags, but they never left. They changed their methods. They replaced armies with banks, bullets with policies, and direct rule with remote control. This is neo-colonialism, and it is more dangerous than what came before. They no longer wear uniforms, but suits. They no longer march with rifles, but manipulate with contracts. They no longer enslave our bodies, but they target our resources, our institution, our youth, and our sovereignty. We are told we are free, but we are forced to obey. That is not independence. That is illusion. What we face today is not just exploitation, it is infiltration. They control our economies through debt. They control our politics through bribes and pressure. They control our army through foreign military bases. They control our narratives through media and NGOs. And they control our people through poverty, manufacture, poverty, so that desperation becomes a tool of manipulation. People are waking up. Africa is waking up. And what they fear the most is an Africa that refuses to be managed. They tell us to be patient. They ask us to negotiate it. But they never asked for permission when they took our gold, our uranium, our oil. They never negotiated it when they installed puppet regimes, assassinated our visionaries, and sabotaged our progress. So we must resist, not with hatred, but with clarity, not with chaos, but with strategy. Resistance does not mean violence. It means refusing to be used, refusing to let others decide what is best for us, refusing to be dependent on the same hands that have robbed us for generations. Our resistance begins with breaking psychological chains. The belief that only the West can protect us, feed us, or fund us is a lie that has been sold for too long. We have what we need. We have the land, the people, the knowledge, and the power to stand on our own. We must believe in that truth, even if it costs us. They will punish us for this belief. They will try to isolate us. They will cut aid, ban our officials, label us undemocratic or dangerous. But ask yourselves, were we ever truly free while accepting their help? Was their aid ever without strings? Did their investments ever empower us, or just empower them? We do not reject cooperation. We reject domination. We do not reject trade. We reject theft disguised as partnership. We do not reject dialogue. We reject deception disguised as diplomacy. This resistance is not the work of one man or one country. It must be continental. Africa must unite, not only in words but in action. Let us share intelligence. Let us protect each other. Let us expose foreign agents and their collaborators within our own ranks. Let us create systems that serve the people, not foreign interests. We must also remember that neo-colonialism is not just external. It lives among us, in the leaders who sell their countries for foreign favors, in the businessmen who choose foreign profits over African futures, in the intellectuals who speak their master's language but forget their people's voice. They are the enemies within, and they must be challenged. The resistance requires courage. Courage to lose comfort. Courage to face smear campaigns. Courage to be targeted by global powers. But there is no dignity in slavery, only in struggle. To the youth, raise with awareness. To the soldiers, defend with principle. To the workers, organize with purpose. And to the leaders, serve with loyalty to your people, or step aside. Neo-colonialism will not end with speeches. It will end when Africa no longer depends on those who exploit. It will end when we trade on our own terms, defend on our own feet, and govern with African interests at heart. We do not ask for their permission to be free. We claim it. Through resistance, through unity, and through unshakable faith in Africa's destiny.